hidden deep within the frozen heart of Russia are cities that don't officially exist. Places erased from maps, walled off from the public, and guarded by silence. No names, no visitors, no questions. For decades, the world has whispered about these mysterious locations, codenamed ZATO, closed administrative territories, where scientists and soldiers lived in secrecy. But today, those same cities are rising again. Only this time, they're not just building weapons. They're building something else. Something digital. Something intelligent. Something unstoppable. This is the story of how Vladimir Putin's Russia built a shadow empire. A network of underground laboratories, covert AI research hubs, and cyber warfare facilities hidden far from the eyes of the West. A digital Cold War, fought not with missiles, but with algorithms. These are the places where artificial intelligence meets espionage, where machine learning becomes a weapon, and where the future of war is being written in secret. For years, Western intelligence agencies dismissed the rumors, until cyber attacks began to trace back to coordinates that shouldn't exist. A power grid in Europe shuts down. A defense satellite goes offline. An election database vanishes overnight. The fingerprints all lead back to nowhere. Somewhere in the vastness of Russia, beneath layers of ice and secrecy, an empire of technology has been reborn. And at the center of it all, a man whose vision of power extends beyond politics into the digital realm itself. Vladimir Putin, the architect of modern Russia's most secret project. Tonight, we go inside that hidden world, through leaked documents, satellite data, and rare testimonies from those who escaped the silence. We'll uncover how a network of ghost cities became the cradle of one of the most advanced AI programs in the world, and how that technology could change the balance of global power forever. Welcome to the hidden world they don't want you to see. Welcome to Putin's secret cities. The cities that didn't exist before they became the laboratories of the digital age. They were cities born from fear and ambition. It was 1946. World War II had just ended. But a new kind of war was already taking shape. One not fought on battlefields, but in laboratories and secret command rooms. The Cold War had begun, as the United States tested its first nuclear weapons. Joseph Stalin ordered something extraordinary, the creation of entire cities dedicated solely to research, secrecy, and survival. Cities with no names, no postal codes, no existence on any map. They were called ZATO, closed administrative territorial formations. Their purpose, to build the Soviet Union's nuclear arsenal and outthink the West. Tens of thousands of scientists, engineers, and soldiers were quietly relocated. Families vanished overnight, reappearing behind high walls, surrounded by guards who never asked questions. Each city had its own code name. Arzamaz, Desisais, Krasnoyarsk 26. Their names sounded like serial numbers, but what happened inside them would shape history. These were places of brilliance and paranoia, where genius met fear. In the silence of these cities, the Soviet atomic bomb was born. The scientists there were celebrated, but invisible. They were given better food, better housing, and yet they could never leave. For decades, even their children grew up behind fences, taught that the world beyond their borders was not to be trusted. They were ghosts serving the motherland. Then came 1991. The Soviet Union collapsed, borders opened, the Iron Curtain fell, and suddenly those secret cities were left in the open. Thousands of scientists now found themselves jobless, their once sacred projects abandoned. The West feared one thing above all, that these men and women, the minds who built nuclear weapons, might sell their knowledge to the highest bidder. But Russia had another plan. Instead of dismantling its secret cities, it decided to repurpose them. No longer centers of atomic power, they would become something more modern, more invisible. Centers for cyber technologies, for artificial intelligence, for warfare not waged with tanks, but with data. By the late 1990s, these forgotten cities had quietly transformed into laboratories of the digital world. Where once nuclear secrets were guarded, now machine learning models were trained. Where once uranium was enriched, now algorithms were sharpened like weapons. The Cold War had evolved. Its new front wasn't fought in the skies, but in cyberspace. And as Russia sought to rebuild its identity, a new leader emerged from the shadows of the KGB. A man who understood power not just through military might, but through control of information. That man was Vladimir Putin. He would take the decaying remains of the Soviet Empire, its secret cities, its brilliant but forgotten scientists, and give them a new mission, not to protect the state, but to reshape it. From the ashes of the Cold War, a new empire was being born, built not on ideology, but on code, control, and the promise of artificial intelligence. This was only the beginning. The rise of cyber warfare in the late 1990s. Russia was falling apart. The ruble had collapsed, the military was starving for funds, and the scientists of the once mighty Soviet Union were forgotten. But inside the frozen silence of its closed cities, a quiet revolution had already begun. The tools of the old war, uranium, steel, fire, were being replaced by something new, code. It started with small experiments, researchers studying cryptography, mathematicians testing new data systems. But soon the focus shifted, not just toward technology, but toward control. The Kremlin understood something the world hadn't yet realized, that information in the age of the internet was the new weapon. When Vladimir Putin rose to power in 1999, he saw opportunity where others saw chaos. He had come from the KGB, an intelligence world where secrecy was power and data was survival. And now he would rebuild Russia using the same principles that had built its secret cities. In the early 2000s, new government contracts began flowing into the former ZATO cities, Saratsk, Snezk, Zhelezhnogorsk. Officially, they were working on technological modernization. Unofficially, they were building the backbone of one of the most advanced cyber operations in the world. These hidden networks became Russia's digital army. They trained hackers, developed AI systems capable of autonomous intrusion, and built malware that could silently infiltrate foreign infrastructure. Electric grids, government networks, election systems, nothing was beyond reach. In 2007, the world got its first glimpse of this new warfare. Estonia, a small, newly digital nation, was hit by a massive cyber attack. Banks failed. News sites crashed. The government went offline. The attack had no official source, but investigators traced its origins back to servers inside Russian territory. Then came Georgia, Ukraine, and eventually the West itself. Every year, the operations grew more sophisticated, every strike more silent. Behind these attacks wasn't just chaos, but strategy, an invisible army, born from those very same cities once erased from Soviet maps. Inside these compounds, scientists who once built bombs were now building algorithms, neural networks, designed for surveillance, prediction, and persuasion. Artificial intelligence became the new weapon of influence. From manipulating social media to destabilize elections, to creating deepfakes and automated propaganda, Russia had turned its scientific isolation into digital domination. But perhaps the most chilling part is that much of this innovation came from private companies tied to the state. Cybersecurity firms, AI startups, even universities, quietly funded through hidden ministries. They called it technological sovereignty, but what it truly meant was control over information, over systems, over truth itself. By 2015, Russia's cyber program had evolved beyond espionage. It could now disrupt entire nations without firing a single shot. The digital battlefield was real, and it was everywhere. Electric grids flickering across Europe. Political systems collapsing under misinformation. AI tools scanning global communications in real time. All controlled from cities that officially still don't exist. In the modern world, war no longer begins with an explosion. It begins with a keystroke. And behind that keystroke, in a hidden Russian city built from Cold War ashes, someone is watching, listening, learning. By the new empire, the AI age of Russia, in the silence of Russia's frozen tundra, beneath forests that stretch for miles. The future is being rewritten. These are no longer cities of steel and uranium. They are cities of data. The ghost towns of the Cold War have been reborn as laboratories of artificial intelligence, surveillance, and cyber control. This is the new empire. An empire built not on territory, but on information. For decades, Russia's power came from oil, gas, and weapons. But today, its most valuable export is influence, and its greatest weapon is AI. The evolution began quietly. Around 2016, as Western nations focused on elections and misinformation, Russia was already investing billions into machine learning and cybernetics. Government-funded institutes emerged, blending military science with artificial intelligence, a fusion of espionage and automation. From these facilities, AI programs capable of global surveillance were born. Facial recognition systems linked to state cameras, language models trained to detect dissent before it happens. Predictive policing algorithms built to identify potential threats to national order. And behind every line of code, a new philosophy of control. Not control by fear, but control by data. Across the world, information became a battlefield. Social networks, once tools of freedom, turned into digital weapons, used to shape opinions, divide nations, and amplify chaos. In 2016, the world saw the shadow of this power. Fake profiles, bot armies, viral propaganda. But few understood the scale behind it. The operations weren't random. They were orchestrated. AI-driven systems, analyzing global emotions in real time, deciding what to push, what to hide, and who to silence. From Moscow to the Urals, servers hum day and night, collecting, analyzing, and predicting human behavior on a scale no human agency could ever achieve. It is said that the modern Kremlin no longer needs spies in every country. Its machines can read us all through our clicks, our posts, our silence. But the AI revolution in Russia is not only about surveillance. It's about dominance in the invisible world, the infosphere. In 2020, a new initiative was launched, the National AI Strategy. Publicly, it promised innovation, automation, and economic growth. Privately, it focused on defense, the militarization of data, autonomous drones, AI-guided missile systems, predictive war simulations. In facilities like Shelesnogorsk and Dubna, scientists, once trained to split atoms, now trained AI to think, to simulate conflict, to win without ever showing a weapon. The new empire doesn't fight with tanks or troops. It fights with perception, with algorithms that rewrite reality before the world even notices. The truth becomes malleable, flexible enough to shape, twist, and control. And in this empire, those who control the data control the world. Across the world, other nations race to catch up. China, the United States, Europe, all building their own AI arsenals. But few understand the advantage Russia holds. Decades of secrecy. A population already conditioned to operate behind closed walls. A government built on silence. The very traits that once made it isolated now make it powerful. In recent years, whispers have emerged from inside these AI labs. Projects that blend deepfake technology, real-time facial synthesis, and emotion recognition. Machines that can simulate anyone, or erase them entirely. An invisible weapon in the digital age. A journalist once described it as the ability to control reality itself inside these hidden cities. The boundaries between man and machine blur more each day. Scientists who once dreamed of progress now build tools for control. AI models that can predict rebellion before it starts. Social systems that adapt public information to maintain stability. In this empire of silence, truth itself becomes the most valuable currency. The old empires fell to war and revolution, but this new one exists everywhere and nowhere. It doesn't need borders. It doesn't need armies. It lives in the wires, the code, the servers beneath our feet. And as the world moves deeper into the age of artificial intelligence, the ghost cities of Russia, once thought to be relics of the Cold War, may yet define the future of global power. This is not the story of the past. It's the story of what comes next. Because the empire never truly vanished. It simply went online. The new empire.